Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at a new Pokémon V and a couple of other Pokémon that have been revealed, so we might as well pop them in this video as well. But we're going to start off with Serena V, because for some reason, there is somebody over on the Pokémon design team that really likes Serena. We keep getting Tsareena cards. We got Serena GX as a fancy promo. Serena keeps coming around and is often very interesting, but never actually ends up being very good. Could this buck the trend? Well, it probably won't surprise you to learn that our translations here come from the lovely Antoine Boulet. Stop me if you've heard that one before. And what we've got here, in terms of HP, is 200, which is in the middle for Pokemon V, but it feels low. Retreat cost of 2, which is not ideal, but you've always got Air Balloon, so it's not the end of the world. And a weakness to fire, which frankly is way better since Welder rotated out. You've still got to look out for Victini, but Victini's getting a one-hit KO whether you're weak or not. So, just chill, I suppose. Being a grass Pokemon does mean there's not a huge amount you're hitting for weakness that's terribly relevant, but hey-ho. And what we've got here is just a single attack, which is going to seem familiar to some of you. For 1 grass, 1 colorless energy, 20 damage, and you discard as many of your bench Pokemon as you like, and you deal an extra 40 damage for each Pokemon you discarded in this way. So, if you discard all 5 bench Pokemon, then you can be doing 220 damage, and as I've mentioned many times before, 220 damage is what you need to get a KO on the vast majority of Pokemon V. It's a very relevant number. And at this stage, many of you, not all of you, but many of you are going to be thinking, oh, that's Mega Gardevoir. And it is, but it isn't. And I'm going to hopefully kind of show you that by explaining why Mega Gardevoir was so good. Now, Mega Gardevoir did 110 base plus 10 more for each bench Pokemon you discarded, so started off higher but did not escalate very quickly at all. But you did have that double typing of Psychic and Fairy, which was really nice for, hitting multiple weaknesses. But you see, the thing is, Gardevoir existed in a world where we had Skyfield. So you could have 8 bench Pokemon, which made a gigantic difference. But also, back then, we had Shaymin, which let you draw until you had 6 cards in your hand and was not limited to once during your turn. We had things like Hooper, which would allow you to search out your Pokemon EXs, 3 of them. And then we had Dragonite, which would let you recover those Pokemon. So essentially you would get some kind of loop going with these, so you would draw a phenomenal amount of cards while clearing your bench every turn. We also had Rattata, which was really quite nice for getting rid of tools, but maybe better than all of them was that we had Execute at the time. And that had the ability to let you put it from the discard pile into your hand, so if you had 4 Execute in the bench, you could guarantee 4 bench Pokemon every turn. And then you had the ridiculous draw with Shaymin, recovery with Dragonite, etc. That's why this was a top deck. Well, it was a good deck. I don't know if it was really ever a top deck, but it was fun. I played a lot of it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was even little things. Like we had Mega Turbo, which would attach an extra energy from your discard pile to a Mega Evolved Pokemon. So, even though it was a Mega Evolution, it was slightly awkward, etc., the fact is, between Skyfield, Execute, and all of those draw Pokemon, it became a very good deck. And I think this is really important to look back on why Gardevoir was so good, as we now turn our attention back to Serena. Because honestly, it's not the same. Now, sure, you've got Crobat, but remember that we've lost Dedenne now, so it's just Crobat, which is a little bit sad. And you don't have that stadium which gives you lots of extra bench Pokemon. To get a relevant KO, you've basically got to discard all of your bench Pokemon, and then if you get KO'd, you lose the game. That second energy is actually sneaky kind of awkward. We've got Turbo Patch, if you can flip a heads. You can use Rillaboom, but then you're not going to want to discard Rillaboom from your bench, so I don't know if that's a great idea. Cherin won't work because you're a Pokemon V, and even then you don't want to discard it from your bench. So actually that second energy is a little bit awkward. We don't have the draw power we had for Gardevoir. We don't have the extra bench space that we had with Gardevoir. And although we can get up to decent numbers, I am not really loving it. Now, if you take Tsareena and drop it into Expanded, where you now do have Skyfield, well, now things are a little different. But remember, Shaymin's gone and been banned, because Shaymin ended up being too good. You've still got more draw power in Expanded, but it's not the same as it was when Gardevoir was at its height. And you still can't use Mega Turbo. There's other ways, but they're not as good as Mega Turbo. And the fact of the matter is, this is a Pokemon that when I first look at it, I go, Mega Gardevoir's back! And then I start remembering all the games I played with Mega Gardevoir, and I start going, well, actually, as cool as Mega Gardevoir was, holy moly, did we have a ridiculous amount of support for that specific card. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and give this 3 Wassies. I don't think it's a bad card. I think it's a fun card. And I absolutely think that in the future, more things might be revealed that will make this good. But I also think that it's just, at the moment, as I'm sitting here, not good enough. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But the good news is there is a new Falinks, and I love me some Falinks. I adore Falinks. Just maybe not this one. Now, we've got 90 HP, which is quite nice because of the whole level ball thing to search it out a bit more easily. And you are a fighting Pokemon, and you've got that same retreat cost of 2 that we just saw on Tsareena. It's shaping up all right. But 1 energy, 30 damage. No! No! That's not good enough. It's really not good enough. Maybe if we find a 60 HP Pokemon that's weak to fighting, maybe at that stage it might be a little bit good enough. So let's say you're against a Chinchino deck, and for some reason that completely escapes me, your opponent has decided to go with the 60 HP Minchino rather than the 70 HP Minchino. Then you'll get a KO, but seriously, this is not a good attack. The second attack, however, 1 fighting, 2 colorless, 60 damage. No! If your opponent has exactly 1 prize card left, this attack does 160 more damage. Oh, well, that's a little bit better. And like we said a moment ago, 220 is perfect. 220 is what you need to get a KO on the majority, the vast majority, pretty much all the relevant Pokemon V. So this is kind of fantastic. This is pretty awesome, if you can get the energy on. Now, this is very much kind of a one-shot deal, because I know your opponent has to have 1 prize remaining. So in theory, you can sweep with Falinks. If they've got 1 prize remaining, you've got 4. You can take 2 KOs in a row with Falinks. You'll do 220 both times. But you've got 90 HP, so let's not get terribly excited. Is worth pointing out, of course, this is a Falinks, which means that it absolutely will combo with Phalanx V, and Phalanx V says all of your Pokemon that have Phalanx in their name take 20 less damage from your opponent's attacks. And there is a way to then combo that with 1 or more stone fighting energy, and then all of a sudden you've actually got a pretty tanky Phalanx. But again, since it's only really good when your opponent's down to 1 prize, we should absolutely not be playing a bunch of support to boost it up. That seems very, very much counterintuitive. I don't think that's a very good idea at all. So how are we going to do this? And I think maybe B? Again, I mentioned B in videos way too much. He's the best Gen 8 gym leader, but also it's kind of made for Pokemon like this. You discard the top 5 cards of your deck, and then any energy you find, you attach to your bench fighting Pokemon in any way you like. So as long as you hit a couple of energy, you'll be fine. And this is a single prize Pokemon, so twin energy will absolutely work here. And there is a possibility of using, say, an energy switch combined with a twin energy to get it rolling in 1 turn. And that's what's awkward with Phalanx, because I really do think you need to get it rolling in 1 turn. I think it needs to be a drop and go situation. And I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. I think you need to use B or use Energy Switch Twin Energy or something else, and you'll notice none of these are particularly easy ways to go about it. But I think that's basically what you've got to do. Because if your opponent goes down to 1 prize remaining and you can drop Phalanx and start doing big damage, that's amazing. But the energy here is going to be a little bit awkward, and that honestly makes me very sad indeed. Love me some Phalanx. But the other thing is, with Reset Stamp going away, that would be one of the best combos with this. Your opponent goes down to 1 prize remaining, and then you drop a Reset Stamp, put them down to a 1-card hand, and then start doing 220 with Phalanx. That would be amazing. But unfortunately, it's not. And of course, we also have to mention the elephant in the room here, which is, of course, your opponent might never be down to 1 prize remaining. They might get down to 2 prizes remaining, KO a Pokemon V and win. Or get down to 3 prizes remaining, KO a Pokemon V Max and win. And that's kind of the problem here, ladies and gentlemen. Because you see, it's a little bit, well, it's a little bit awkward if I'm honest with you. Sorry. I don't know, let's give it 3 Wassies again. 3 Wassies seems fair. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's great. But I absolutely do think that there is potential here. And that alone is pretty gosh darn good for me. And then we need to finish off having a little bit of a look at Feraligatr. And Feraligatr is back. Feraligatr is absolutely back in the Pokemon TCG. It is Feraligatr with Berserk. And if any of you are long-time players, or like me, obsessed with the history of the Pokemon trading card game, you're going to remember this from Neo Genesis. Now, there were 2 Feraligatr that came around in Neo Genesis. The quote-unquote good one was the one with Downpour, which incidentally was an absolute top-tier deck, possibly the best deck in the game. And then there was Berserk Feraligatr, which was not as good. But it did see play and was a fun little deck and absolutely did get taken out by a bunch of people. So, what does it do? Oh yeah, 170 HP is pretty gosh darn big. Big retreat cost of 3 and a weakness to lightning, which is not terrible, honestly. So now, what does it actually do? When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, flip a coin. If heads, discard the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. If tails, discard the top 5 cards of yours. And this is exactly the same ability as the Feraligatr had back in Neo Genesis 20 years ago. And I love it, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely love it. And honestly here, if you're going to be going for this, you better go for it. This has a ready-made partner it did not have back in the Neo Genesis Gen 2 era. It's Toxtricity. Toxtricity's got an attack for 2 energy, flip a coin. If heads, discard the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck. If tails, discard the top 5 cards of yours. And there has got to be a very fun little mill deck to be made here. The theory is you just hope you flip more heads than tails. And to be fair, with Toxtricity, you do have Glimwood Tangle, which will allow you to essentially have a second chance to flip heads on that attack. So Toxtricity should hit like 3 out of 4 times, and Feraligatr 1 out of 2. And if you play a bunch of recovery cards, you can try and manipulate it so you can recover way better than your opponent. Having said that, if you just mill your own recovery cards, maybe it's a moot point anyway. I don't know if this can actually be a good, legitimate, viable tournament-winning deck, but man, I want to see it. In a tournament I'm not playing in. I really don't think I want to play against this deck ever. And the thing you've got to remember is when you're milling to this degree, it's not just about my opponent has no cards, I will win. It is about the fact that every time you mill 5 cards, you take away a bunch of options. You get rid of some energy, some evolution, supporter cards, etc. The more times you mill 5 cards on the top of your opponent's deck, the more likely it is they're going to have nothing to do, miss an attack or 2, and you're going to get to mill more. Now, of course, the same can be said about you, and Feraligatr is a Stage 2 Pokemon, so there is absolutely the possibility you're going to keep South milling and not be able to get your Feraligatr out. I get it. but this seems like fun. Don't forget you've got Scoop Up Net here, so essentially rather than trying the cheaty rare candy route, what you would probably want to do here is actually manually evolve up into the stage 2 properly, or then maybe play a few rare candy here and there, so that you can scoop up net and potentially do this multiple times in a single turn. I love it, ladies and gentlemen. This is some good milling. The attack here, free energy, 140. Discard a card from your opponent's active? Nah. No. But I do like the ability, and incidentally, Antoine has confirmed here, this is not an optional ability. It is not when you play, you may flip a coin. No. You will flip a coin, ladies and gentlemen. You will flip a coin. I'm giving this between 3 and 4 Wassies. No, I'm not. I'm giving it 4 Wassies. I'm giving it 4 Wassies. I don't actually think it's particularly good, but there is anarchy to be had here, and I am into it. But I want to know what you think about this and Tsareena and Falinks. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.